So you never had a garden? It's time to be thinking about it. Fall is an excellent time to pick up seeds cheaply, as well as gardening books. Let's face it, most of us believe things are going to get very complicated in the next year or two. The more that we can insulate ourselves from actions by governments, business, and others, the better it will be for each of us. If we remember back a year or two, we will remember that there was a toilet paper shortage. It didn't bother us because we had been keeping a decent supply. Granted, if we were out shopping during this time, we may pick up a 12-pack or so just to keep our supplies constant. It's not hoarding to inventory what we need so that events won't make us respond in desperate ways. Gardening and putting food by, as the canning and processing of foods for later use, isn't hoarding either. And by planting in the fall, you can be a little bit ahead of the curve for spring. At the very least, harvest time is a good time to stock up at the grocery store. And if you know how to put food by, that is canning, freezing, dehydrating, and freeze-drying foods as well as smoking as ways of preserving food for later use, shortages will not affect you and your family. So let's take a few minutes and review what we have and don't have, and then work to get those things that maybe will help us through some of the unsettling times. This deserves a good talk about. Hello anyone, I'm Scott Bain. They call me the Old Farmer. Before I get started, I would like everyone to contribute their favorite reference books in the comments below. I couldn't possibly list all of them, and it will also show YouTube that this video is being watched. Let me just say thank you in advance. Growing up on the farm, we had 5 acres of vegetable garden. Before you go ooh and ah, we could maintain it with the farm equipment. For example, sweet corn. We used the seed drill that we used for planting field corn, and then for weeding we used the same cultivator that we used in the fields. Then when things were ready, the extended family would get together and we would can the rewards of the garden. Starting at about the age of 10, I manned the mandolin. The slicer, not the musical instrument. Even at that young age, I could stay ahead of 5 women who were receiving the sliced cucumbers or other things. That's where I learned to do canning. If possible, to keep safe, avoid a water bath except for highly acidic produce, such as sauerkraut or maybe pickles. I'm more comfortable if it's canned under pressure. You are less likely to have a failed seal or spoiled food. But if you've never had a garden, this will be overwhelming. Most folks who have never planted a garden may think that you dig up a bit of lawn, plant some seeds, water generously, throw some fertilizer on it, and jump back as the completely developed plant pops out of the ground. This only happens in fairy tales and dreams. There is work involved. You have to manage your garden as much as managing your car going down the road. If you stay ahead of everything, it's not hard work for a garden. Doing it commercially is another story, but we're talking about the family garden. If we stay ahead, it isn't bad maintaining a garden. For us, this is the first year that we grew potatoes. I remember growing them back on the farm. We had a potato spade that was wedge-shaped, and you shoved it into the ground with your foot, the same as with a shovel. Then there was a lever that opened one side of the pointed end, and a piece of potato would drop out. You would then lift the potato spade out and step on the ground to bury the potato, and then on to the next potato. Granted, you could start with the actual potato seeds, but it's far more easy and more dependable if pieces of potato are planted, as long as you include an eye in the potato piece. Better if there were two eyes. For most other plants in the garden, seeds are planted directly into the ground or started indoors, and then when the weather warms enough, transplanted into the ground. If you can't find the seeds you want, then take the seeds from the vegetables that you get at the grocery store. Plant extra seeds because they may have been sprayed with an inhibitor that blocks the growth of the seeds. It isn't a perfect way of doing things, but we have gotten some of the seeds we use this way. Also remember that you may have a hybrid vegetable and the plant may default to one of the original parent plants. If you like chili peppers, fresh or dried, they are easy to grow. And if you start inside, you can take them out in the spring. Then around this time of year, late September, early October, you can dig them up gently, rinse off the roots, and replant in a pot for growing inside. And as long as there's enough light from a south-facing window, they will continue to grow peppers. In fact, you can leave the plants indoors all year long. For most people, they are a bit too hot to eat with the seeds and all, but remove the seeds and they're great in salads. Cut into several pieces with the seeds and add to soups and other cooking recipes. I like dried chipped peppers added to cornbread. The important thing is to start small, maybe a pot garden. No, not that kind of pot garden. You can either buy or look at thrift stores for some used pots for growing some of the simple things. Basil, oregano, and chili peppers can be the first things you can start growing. In the fall, you can bring them inside and place them in front of a south-facing window. They will need more watering because winter air is often very dry, so keep a sharp eye on the moisture in the dirt. This just might give you enough confidence to build a 4-foot by 4-foot raised bed for growing a few salad vegetables, things that you would put in a typical salad, and maybe some herbs. Don't build a raised bed using pallets. They are used many times over and you don't know what kinds of chemicals have been spilled on the wood. But used wood is fine if you know how it was used. Another option is to build a wooden frame and use galvanized roofing for the sides of the raised beds. Just remember to add a top piece of wood to protect you from cutting yourself and for additional strength for the bed. Don't forget to do a second planting for a second fall crop. In the heat of the summer, many of your plants will bolt and need to be pulled out and composted. Even if all you do is plant 2 or 3 of your favorite herbs in a pot on a windowsill, you are ahead of the game already. I can't emphasize this too much. Take only little steps, especially if you've never gardened before. It's too easy to get overwhelmed and then you give up. This even happens to long-time gardeners who expand their gardens too much and then they get frustrated and give up. What you want to be able to do is know how to garden. If things get bad, then you can go bigger. But for now, keep it to a fun size effort and to add a few flavors of homegrown vegetables to your table. Here are a few screen grabs that you should take. I know that the trend is away from paper books, but for reference, I really encourage you to get the books. See if you can get them used if you can. Look for handyman books, gardening, cooking, and medical books. I almost forgot sewing if you don't know how to sew. Having a library of such books will allow you to take a quiet moment to learn something. If things go bad and the internet goes down, you will have the materials you need to learn those things that is best to know if things get out of control. Back in the 1930s, during the Great Depression, everything was make-do. That means you grew, built, or repair, or go without. That includes medical issues too. If you have been in a library lately, you may realize that the reference section is pretty anemic, and the few books that are there, do you think you'll be able to find them if things go bad? No. So create your own reference library. If you can't get the books, then get PDF versions and print them off. That's the important thing to do. You want hard copies of everything, so if you only have a bacon fat candle for light at night, you can still read what is in the reference book. I would get the big metal hinged ring binders and keep several PDF books inside by topic. Inside a binder may be all your PDF material for medical, or it could be gardening or cooking. Even if it's only a power failure, it will be interesting reading such books by Kerosene Lantern. And please don't forget to add in the comments your favorite reference books. Thank you for watching. Before we go, thank you to our subscribers who helped us reach over the 1,000 subscription mark. It's very humbling to receive the support from our subscribers. Thank you. I will always try to give you accurate information, and I'm not worried if you disagree in comments. Just remember, youngsters may read your words. Well, this is the old farmer Scott Bain saying, be well, be safe, and be kind to someone today.
Don't forget to click like, subscribe, share, or ring the bell buttons on the original Old Farmer channel. We enjoy reading the comments that you leave, and they do help the channel, so keep them coming. And once again, thank you for watching the original Old Farmer.
The VFW National Home for Children, providing families of veterans and active duty military opportunities for growth and development in a nurturing community. Please consider a donation to help their children and families. I.C. Rhodes speaking.